Welcome to Alpha Wolf Capital. I'm Tim, and I want to personally thank you for stopping by. This channel is designed to help small companies, both public and private, gain exposure with potential consumers, investors, even partners. Take, for example, today's guest, CEO Vin Singh from Bullfrog AI. Bullfrog AI is using proprietary artificial intelligence and machine learning analytics platform, which they aim to improve drug development and clinical trials through identification of high value data niches and patient subgroups. This will ultimately lead to improved clinical outcomes for patients and reduction of trial and error treatment strategies in our disease areas of focus. Their mission is to improve lives by identifying critical connections between therapies and highly responsive patients in less time with less cost and more precision. This is without a doubt an impact company. And they just had some impactful news. But I'm going to let Vin tell you more about that in just a moment. This is not to be taken as investment advice. I am not a certified financial planner. This is for education and entertainment purposes only. I encourage everyone to do their own due diligence. Hey, everybody. Tim from Alpha Wolf Capital coming at you with one of my favorite AI stories. Bullfrog, Vin Singh from Bullfrog AI had some what I thought was incredible news. Stock didn't really react, but that's okay. That's why we're here. Van, thanks for coming in and giving us an update, man. You should be pretty stoked right now.
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. Great to be here, Tim. Last time I told you, once we got some good news, I'm coming back. And this is really big news for us. We announced last week a collaboration with Sygnature Discovery. They are a top tier CRO. I think they have maybe 1,000 employees. So they're a substantial firm, mid-size. They specialize in drug discovery, based in the UK, but they do business globally. So they
Okay.
have, hundreds of biotech customers all over the world. And we are working with them on our Bullfrog Data Networks solution. And I think last time I was on
And
the show,
that was the item that you introduced last time we spoke, right?
I introduced it last time. So basically, think of what Palantir does, except we focus on drug development. And we have, we think we have better technology actually than they do. Last time I was on the show, I mentioned we had our first customer, Liaison Pharmaceuticals. They're in the middle of a phase 3 for pancreatic cancer. We fully expect to have a report out on the results from our analysis this coming quarter, which will be great. And then that led us obviously into the deal with Sygnature. So now Signature's commercial team will start selling Bullfrog data networks all over the world to customers. So this is an amazing opportunity for us. We don't have to build out our own commercial team, obviously. They already have customers. Their customers trust them. They do business with them. And this is another value add for those relationships. And, obviously what we can do with networks on the discovery side is huge for biotechs. We can do, any number of things. We can help them identify drug targets that are true drivers of disease, right? We can look at the targets that they've already identified and say, hey, let us show you where it falls in the network here. So you don't end up spending tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars on something that may not have the best chance of success, right?
Yep.
So it's things like that. And
Do me a favor, Van.
yeah,
I mean, look, this is what I think your third or fourth interview with me. Just real quickly, so that people understand, you are not a company that is claiming to be an AI that isn't an AI. Let's blow
yeah,
that out right now, right?
yeah. let's
So,
start from the beginning then.
yes.
So we are an 8-year-old company, okay? We were into AI when most people didn't even know what AI was, okay? So our technology comes out of the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Lab, also called APL. I encourage you to check out their website. They are a subsidiary of Johns Hopkins. They do a couple billion in revenue, all top secret defense work, okay? And they built an AI platform, successfully deployed it, different sectors, cyber and terrorism and things like that. So really important stuff. Okay. They're deploying it in areas where it's life or death, right? A
Yeah.
disaster could happen. So, and these guys work on space exploration, robotics, missile defense, amazing technologies. This AI technology won Innovation of the Year there. That's a big deal. Okay.
Right.
We've continued, we've signed improvement licenses along the way. So we are clearly in the innovator category when it comes to AI. This is like early days. And we've continued to innovate with our, adding our own capabilities and innovation with our data science team. So now we do have what we think is a very unique combination of capabilities and technologies. There are a few things that we really believe we can do better than anybody in the world, which is a pretty big statement. And it's very technical. I'm not going to get into it, but I think that's part of the reason Signature partnered with us. Okay, they can partner with anybody they want. Why do they pick us? So we had to prove ourselves, right? And
Right.
so obviously we impressed them, and they believe in us. So at the end of the day, what does this mean? One thing it means is revenue, right? And an opportunity to scale very quickly, right? And in our press release, we put out a forecast, 15 to 30 million in revenue from this relationship over the next 3 years. Um, this validates us in the eyes of the marketplace. And we've seen an immediate reaction. Okay. That press release went out a week ago. And within a couple of days, we are seeing companies come out of the woodwork. Companies that weren't so interested in talking before, all of a sudden have just changed their mind, and they're reaching out to us. They didn't want to have a meeting. Now all of a sudden meeting spots are open. So, and we knew this was going to happen. It's just like any other business, right? Those first couple deals are always the hardest, right?
You've said that consistently over every interview that all you need is that one deal that gives you
Yeah,
the validation, and then
yeah.
it opens the door to many
It
people.
opens the door. And again, this is a highly reputable, successful company. And many in the industry, whether they're, on the street, bankers or pharma companies, biotechs, they've heard of Signature. They know Signature. They know their reputation. So now they know our reputation. And I think, I'm super excited and optimistic about the second half of this year. Because and you remember last time I was on, I said, look, we are in discussions with a number of pharmas, right?
Right.
And now that's growing very quickly, but we're getting deeper and deeper into these discussions. And things like this will be a catalyst to accelerate, right? And
Yeah.
move those things to the finish line. Because look, everybody wants to work with the winners, right? And now we're in the winner's circle.
So
So
let's address something here real quick though.
yeah,
Okay. You have been consistently saying when you get that deal, and I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna take a stab that you're a little disappointed with the reaction of the stock.
very disappointed. It doesn't really make sense because it's such a huge accomplishment for us. And stocks, share prices are mostly about the future, right?
Yep.
And we think the future is incredible, and that's why we had the confidence, Signature had the confidence to put a number on that press release and say, hey, we think we're going to generate 15 to 30 million. And there's going to be many other opportunities that pop up. Remember, this relationship is all about drug discovery. what are we doing with the liaison? Clinical trial optimization and discovery. So that's an open space for us. So we have other companies interested in working with us on, on that end of things. So again, I get asked like, so are you guys like, blank company? And I say, hey, we're like Palantir, except for drug development. That's our lane. We don't cut across all industries, but we are specialists, right? And
Right.
we have proprietary technology. In some cases, we have that, very unique data, which I talked about last time, and we're talking to pharma about the discoveries from that unique
And
data from.
give everybody a little refresher on that data that you
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, it's a really exciting one. So we partnered with the Lieber Institute for Brain Development. They have the largest collection of brains in the world for neuropsychiatric patients. It's like 5,000 brains. And they have tissue from all parts of the brain and all kinds of other data. We had exclusive access to all of their data. And now we have 3 years of commercialization exclusivity for all those discoveries. And basically, what we discovered were the genes that are driving schizophrenia, bipolar, and depression. And the reason that's important is if anybody studies or monitors the world of CNS drug development, there's a couple of fundamental weaknesses, which is why there's so many failures in CNS, and companies are sometimes pulling out. Um, Animal brains are not a good model for human brains, right? We were far more sophisticated
Advanced.
and
Yep.
advanced. And you can't punch biopsy somebody's brain tissue to study it without killing them. Like, but any other part of the body, you can do that. I mean, that's how companies study disease and generate data. So by getting that exclusive access to all this amazing data, we've overcome those weaknesses. And now we have these discoveries, and now we're in deep conversations with a number of big pharmas. And as a reminder, I know everybody's wondering, okay, well, what does that mean? So there are two types of deals we're pursuing. One is, we'll call it a pilot deal. That's like maybe a couple $1 million and maybe 6 months. And basically you prove yourself, but it'll probably involve some of that data that, some of the discoveries we've made. And then you move to the bigger, we'll call them the AI biobucks deal. And that's more of a strategic partnership or an out licensing deal where for each of those targets that we discovered, those genes, they pay us an upfront payment of 2 to 20 million each and 200 million all in each if all the milestones get hit plus royalties. So if you think about 5 of those genes, 5 targets, that's how you get to $1 billion.
Right.
And as a reminder, we only burn 6 million a year. So we're, this is what's so exciting. We are, we're low risk in the eyes of investors. We just don't burn a lot of cash. We don't need a lot of cash, but we're sitting on all of this amazing value. And actually, I challenge your listeners to find another example like this because I can't. I think maybe Viking Therapeutics, I think that's the company that may be similar, have like 20 employees with a multi-billion-dollar market cap or something like that. But that's what the excitement is about, and that's part of the reason we were so shocked that there wasn't, the reaction because we've obviously had phenomenal days, right?
Yeah. So let's step back actually for a minute here, because we were you and I were talking before we hopped on. Because I'm super excited, right? I'm like super bullish, super excited because the way I view it is if the market doesn't get it right now, that's okay. You're just going to keep executing, and
Right.
eventually the numbers will reflect at some point. I mean, it's going to happen. They can't stop it from happening, right? So
Yeah,
you had two huge pops in the stock, right, recently on big volume. You released this this news of this partnership and like there's like no volume and I think the thing actually closed red on the day.
yeah,
This is the news you've been waiting for,
that's right.
right?
Yep.
and you get
Huge.
no volume and it closes red. Now, either there is a massive disconnect or maybe somebody's playing screw around with the stock. I don't know. But what was the big run when it ran up to $4? Do you remember what that was?
I don't even know that there was any real news. So, um, and you had many millions of shares trading, and here we hit a massive milestone. And you know, the other thing is, you know, we got about what, a little less than 10 million shares outstanding, right?
That's what I was just gonna go for. Yep. Okay.
And you know, you look at like a Palantir for networks, you know, that's they traded 35 times revenue. But for the you know drug target discovery side, it's astronomical. There are companies that trade 150 times revenue.
And why is that? Why is that? Tell the audience why that is so important.
Well, because these deals can add so much value. These are the kinds. All right, in when you talk about drug discovery and development, right?
Yep.
Most drugs fail because they pick the wrong target. So that first step in the process is so critical, right? It can prevent you from, you know, wasting hundreds of millions of dollars and many, many years, right?
Right.
And it can also enable you to identify the true driver of a disease that's going to have, you know, the best effect downstream and have, you know, the best success. So you know, that's part of the reason those deals have high multiples, but it's also those early deals, right? So the early deals have, you know, 150 or 100, 150, and then it starts, you know, settling down a little bit, but they're still very substantial. I mean, it can be still over 35 times. Um, but that's it. I mean, it's all massive downstream value because even if one of them makes it, you know, it's a multi-billion-dollar drug, right? It's a big
Right.
deal. So anyway, when you do the math on all that, you're just like, you know, wow. You know, there is a disconnect here for some reason. So, you know,
Well, I mean that's why we're here because we're gonna try and help people connect the dots. I mean, you
right.
just said you don't have a burn. You're not planning on hiring like 200 people, are you?
Yeah. If we ever hire anybody, Tim, it's because we got a big revenue generating deal. And
Yeah.
by the way, like the kinds of things I'm talking about, you know, even if they're in the tens of millions of dollars, we may need to hire a few people, three, four, five people. It's not the kind of thing where you know, we have to hire 100 people to service this. No, it's not
No.
necessary. And part of it is because the pieces we have are so strong, right? When you got really good technology, you can be super efficient.
Let,
So, you
let's
know,
talk about that technology. How protected are you?
we do have some patents around it, but I think for the most part, when you know, you're talking about AI, it's better to have trade secret because look, you file a patent, it gets published, the whole world can see your
See it.
algorithms and
Yep.
everything. How are we going to police that? It's impossible, right? And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if big tech, you know, they would take it and say, "Go ahead, sue us." You know,
Yeah.
we'll
Absolutely, they
we
would.
have $1 billion legal budget. We'll, you know, we'll
Yep.
squeeze you out. So it's better to, you know, keep it trade secret, but we do have a couple of patents around it from the original license from
Okay.
Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. But anyway, so
Most
we're, you know,
importantly, though, like for the brain, right? The data that you have collected is put you years and years and years ahead of anybody else.
yeah, and remember this, it's a one of a kind data set. And I'm not being dramatic and exaggerating. There's literally nothing close to it. Okay.
Yep.
And I mean, do your research. Find 5,000 brains of neuropsychiatric patients. I mean, you know, it doesn't exist. So, you know, and by the way, there are other neurodegenerative disorders, diseases that are in there. So there's opportunities for us to even expand outside of neuropsych. But first things first, and you know, when you're lean like this, you got to stay focused and you got to execute. So let's get these neuropsych deals done. And the nice thing is we have an opportunity to do at least three deals. One for depression, one for bipolar, right? And one for schizophrenia. fantastic, especially when you think about the numbers I'm talking
And
about here.
each one of those deals would be somewhere in the range of,
I think each one of those deals, you might have 10 to 50 million upfront,
yep,
right? And up to a billion if all the milestones are hit downstream, which takes time and then royalties on the back end. But
but
again,
what you said not long ago, when you said a lot of times these pharmacies are attacking or trying to solve the wrong thing, right? So by you identifying what the right where to start, the starting block is the most important piece, right?
exactly. Because then, like I said, you can fail fast if you pick the wrong target.
Yeah,
How many companies struggle with that? I mean, we see it every day, right? I mean,
yep,
it's like an epidemic in the biotech industry. But I think biotech is now getting smarter and they're thinking more about efficiencies, right?
yep,
And they are realizing we don't have to be overbuilt like this. We got to use the right technology at the right place, and right time.
yep.
And you'll start seeing, I think, better success rates, right? Less time and investment to get to those.
And each time you Bullfrog are connected to that success story, what is that going to do?
Oh God, I mean, it's a massive validator and case study for us. But what I'm hoping is, sooner rather than later, we have these case studies where we helped this biotech make these discoveries, which then help them raise money and help them move forward and be successful.
Yep.
I think everybody's going to be coming to us at that point. Probably all the VCs too will want to work with us, right? Because they got these high risk portfolios they would love.
Well, let me ask you this, Vin. Will you still be around? Here's what I visualize. At
Yeah.
some point, the more successes you have, you're going to pique the interest of somebody and they're going to want to buy you.
Yeah, well, either that's going to happen or we're going to be doing the buying, right? And if we have that big success and get, where we think we deserve to be, that's exactly what we're going to do because I think we talked about this last time, and I hope things improve, but there's a lot of distressed companies out there. There's a
Right.
lot, there's good technology, good assets, but that could really benefit from a Bullfrog technology and approach.
That's something I want to hammer on for a second because the market has been held up by basically seven companies, Magnificent Seven, right? Okay. Is that sustainable? I don't think it is. I think the valuations that they're at are just astronomical right now. I would say there's more risk in those names by far than there is risk in your name, right?
Oh,
So where will that money go when it comes out of those Mag 7? It's got to go somewhere because the funds have to stay fully invested or mostly fully invested. So where's that money go? I mean, it's not going to go back into those names because their charts are actually starting to look a little broken, right? So, and they've had an amazing run. I mean, how pigs get slaughtered, I think is the right. So, where is that money going to go? This is when you actually have to earn your keep, right? This is when instead of just taking your client's money and throwing it in the seven names,
yeah,
you actually now have to go out and find companies that are going to be the next Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, right? And they're
yeah,
not coming from Nvidia, Microsoft, or Apple. It's going to be some little no-name company that has this really incredible stuff that changes the world. That's
yeah.
who's going to become the next one, right? I would
I,
suggest, and look, I'm not guaranteeing this because I don't. But I would suggest that Bullfrog AI solves a critical need for the healthcare industry, biotech industry, right? And I would suggest that you are undervalued right here, right now. Would you agree with that?
I agree 100%. I mean,
And as you have more successes, you're right. You're either going to get acquired, and I would imagine that number would have to be a very big number because you're not going to take a very small number, right? I mean, why would you?
Right.
So it's either a very big number or you're going to go out and be the acquirer of, and you're going to build this thing into something huge, right?
Yep. I mean, look, we're gonna earn our value, and that means, it's gonna be, based on fundamentals, unlike a lot of other companies. And I think, we're gonna be in a position to do just that. And I agree with it 100% about the Mag 7. I mean, I think that money is gonna rotate out, and those companies aren't even based, their valuations are not based on fundamentals. I mean, I don't know what's, propping them up, but yeah, I mean, look, you're looking for that next shooting star, and we see, especially with our networks business, that we're like a Palantir-esque company. Uh,
Well,
focused
that's
on
the
government.
networks business, but you got this other data that could be an absolute game changer.
Yeah, it will be. And we're, like I said, we're in the middle of all the discussions. It's I'm very optimistic. Something is going to happen. And again, like you said in the beginning, the relationship with Signature is just going to accelerate that, because nobody wants to be first, right? But now somebody has stepped up,
And
and
you've
now,
said that
yeah.
consistently from, yep. So that's why you're a little shocked that the stock didn't react. This is what I want everybody to really let sink into their brain. This stock went from $2 straight to like 455 in a few days on no news.
Yep.
No news. This is significant material news that was just announced, and the stock did not move. So, matter of fact, it went down a little bit. So, I guess what I'm saying to you is, look, I don't tell anybody what to buy or when to sell, when to buy. What I do is I present what I think are very compelling opportunities. And this is a very compelling opportunity. So you could literally, I mean, if you're unsure, this is what I would recommend. At least buy one share. If you're watching this, buy one share of Bullfrog. Now, I don't think I can get in trouble for that because one share is not going to bankrupt anybody, right? But what it will do is it will make you pay attention to what's happening with the company because you own a piece, right? You're part owner of Bullfrog AI, even if it is only one share. You will probably regret, though, that you didn't buy more when it takes off, right? But at least you'll participate. I mean, how can you go wrong? One share. At least you participate. That if you look at what the stock is doing, and I'm going to have to move my bull again. This stock has been kind of bouncing in between. Let's call it a buck 60 and $2. It's just trading in this range, and it's building a base. And what do they say? The bigger the base, the higher the space, right? So you're like a coiled spring, and you're just building up energy. So that, and I like to call them launching pads, right? The bigger that thing gets, the bigger the launching pad, the higher it goes. It's got a nice, it's building a nice launching pad. There is going to be news at some point, I would believe, that will make this thing go. It wasn't that one, but that's okay because that one's going to lead to other ones, right? And then maybe it'll register with people that this is a real company with a real product that is going to be, I think, very impactful for humanity in general, right? Would you agree with that, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically our mission, right? To make an impact. And we're doing it right now. That's what we're doing every day.
So, look, if we spent less time worrying about things that we have zero control over, like macroeconomics and all this other stuff, and just started focusing on finding companies that are going to have a positive impact on humanity and support them, right? You don't have to just be, it doesn't mean just you're just an investor. You could be a brand ambassador. You could just spread the word about the company, right? I mean, these you're doing amazing things. There is opportunity here, and there's a way because of your product that we could solve maybe some really horrible diseases over the long run, right? I mean, that's the ultimate goal.
Exactly.
So, I mean, this is a company that's their mission to help solve terrible and eradicate terrible diseases, right? That's the goal.
That's the goal. And, we're an American AI company, which I think is important. And we're not impacted by tariffs at all, by the way. So if you're looking for safety, come to Bullfrog.
Right. I mean, that is that. I mean, that's a very valid point. You're not going to be impacted by tariffs. Doesn't matter what happens, right?
Right.
This is a really good story. There's no need for raise capital, Vin. Right? None. You're good on capital.
No immediate need for that. Right now we're going to focus on execution. That's
Right.
it. We're going to
I
keep
mean,
executing. We're going to keep getting deals done.
and I see that as that's gonna. I believe that's going to happen. I can't say for sure. Anything's possible, I guess, in the world, right? But I'm pretty sure you're probably going to get some other deals, and that's going to lead to other deals. So, Dan, I appreciate. I know you're a busy guy, man. You feel as though I missed anything that you want to share?
No, I think we covered all the most important points that I think an investor would want to know.
All right. So when do you think we should do a follow up?
Is that a trick question? Because you're trying to ask me when I'm getting the next deal done. Like I said last time, as soon as I get the next deal done, I'm going to call you and we're going to come back on and update everybody.
Okay.
But I expect each time to be shorter than the last time. Right? That's my expectation.
I, all right. I can go along with that. That makes sense. All right, Vin. Hold on one second, man. I'm going to shut this off.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Capital. Today we had Vin Sin from Bullfrog AI. I hope you enjoyed today's interview, and if you did, do us a favor, give us a like. How about giving us a share? And while you're at it, make sure you smash that subscribe button. All of those things are extremely important to us here at Alpha Wolf Capital, and we appreciate you taking time to do that. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Capital wishes you the very best of success.